Have you ever wondered, what exactly is it that is going to die? Not the body, because every cell in it is already changing, dissolving, replacing itself. Not the thoughts, because they appear and disappear like passing clouds. Not the emotions, because they surge, fade and return without asking your permission. So what is it that you are so afraid to lose? What is this silent center you call me? The one who says, my life, my pain, my story, my suffering. And if that me is never clearly seen, then who exactly has been living your life all these years? Ramana Maharshi did not begin with philosophy. He began with this fire, this unbearable, unavoidable question, who am I, really? And once, a seeker came to Maharshi carrying a burden that every human being carries, whether they admit it or not. With deep sincerity, almost trembling, he asked, Master, is there truly a way to end suffering completely? Not temporarily, not partially, but forever? Maharshi looked at him quietly, not quickly, not intellectually, but as if looking beyond the man into the very root from which the question had arisen. And then he said something that sounds simple, but contains a revolution powerful enough to dissolve an entire lifetime of misery. He said, find out who suffers. That was all. Not how to escape suffering, not how to manage it, not how to heal it, but who suffers. Because Maharshi had seen something with absolute clarity, something most human beings never question, even once. He saw that suffering does not belong to life. It belongs to identity. He saw that pain may arise naturally in existence, but psychological suffering requires a center, a claimant, someone who says, this is happening to me. Without that claimant, suffering cannot survive. The seeker, confused, asked, Master, suffering feels real. When grief comes, when fear comes, when loss comes, it is overwhelming. How can I simply ask who suffers? The suffering is already there. Maharshi replied with profound precision, not to dismiss suffering, but to expose its mechanism. He said that suffering appears overwhelming only because the one who claims it is never examined. You feel suffering is real because the sufferer feels real, and the sufferer feels real because you never investigate it. This is why Maharshi did not teach belief. He taught Enquiry. He did not say, trust me. He said, look directly. When suffering arises, what happens immediately? A sensation appears. A thought labels it. And then something claims it. This is happening to me. But who is this me? Is it the body? The body does not say anything. Is it the mind? Thoughts come and go on their own. Is it memory? Memory is just stored impressions. So where exactly is the sufferer located? Maharshi once explained that the I you feel is not a solid entity. It is a movement, a subtle thought, the first thought, the root thought, the I thought. And every other form of suffering grows from that root, just as every branch grows from a single trunk. If the root is seen clearly, the entire tree of suffering collapses naturally, not suppressed, not controlled, simply dissolved. The seeker then asks something very honest, something most people feel but rarely say aloud. If the I is only a thought, why does it feel so real? Why does it feel like me? Maharshi's response was deeply compassionate and devastatingly precise. He said it feels real for the same reason a dream feels real while you are dreaming. because attention is absorbed in it without question. In deep sleep, there is no I, no suffering, no world, no problem. Yet you do not experience that as loss. You experience it as peace. Why? Because the false center is absent. But the moment you wake, the I rises, and with it rises the entire universe of struggle, fear, desire, comparison, memory, regret, and anticipation. Maharshi did not condemn the world. He did not reject experience. He only pointed to the assumed center through which everything is interpreted. He once described the ego as a phantom that appears real only when not examined, like a shadow mistaken for a person in dim light. Bring light, and the phantom vanishes, not destroyed, seen through. The seeker, still struggling, asked another question. If the ego disappears, will life become empty, meaningless, mechanical? Maharshi smiled gently, because he knew this fear is the ego's final defense. It convinces you that without it, nothing remains. But Maharshi had directly experienced the opposite. He said, when the false self dissolves, what remains is not emptiness, but fullness without division, life without resistance, awareness without contraction, peace without opposite, not an experience that comes and goes, but the ground of all experience. He explained that suffering is not ended by changing circumstances, because circumstances are endless. Suffering ends when the one who resists what is no longer believed to be real. And this is why his teaching is so radical, so direct, so uncompromising. He did not offer comfort to the ego. He offered freedom from it. And that is why this teaching must be heard before you die. Because death will take everything you think you own, everything you think you are, everything you cling to for identity. But Maharshi discovered something astonishing when he himself faced death at the age of 16. He did not imagine death. He enacted it. He lay down, stilled his body, and allowed the full certainty of death to consume him. And then he asked, the body will die, but does I die? He looked inward, not with belief, not with fear, but with total intensity. And what he found changed the course of spiritual history. He discovered that awareness remained untouched. The body could be imagined dead. The mind could fall silent, but the fundamental sense of being, pure presence, remained unshaken. And in that moment, suffering lost its foundation, because suffering requires identification with what changes. But he had discovered what does not change. So when Maharshi tells you to ask, who suffers? He is not giving a technique. He is inviting you into the same fire of discovery that dissolved death itself for him. The seeker finally asked the most essential question, Master, if I truly look and the I disappears, what will remain of me? Maharshi answered with luminous simplicity, you will remain as you truly are, not as a story, not as a personality, not as a psychological structure, but as pure being, untouched by birth, untouched by death, untouched by suffering. And this is why this teaching ends all suffering, because suffering belongs only to what you are not. So before this body falls, before time dissolves every role you play, before the world you know fades into silence, ask what Maharshi asked. Look where he pointed. Not tomorrow, not conceptually, right now. When discomfort arises, who feels it? When fear appears, to whom does it appear? When the sense of me is felt, what is its substance? Follow it to its source. And if followed with absolute sincerity, something astonishing happens. The seeker disappears, and what remains was never born and can never die. And in that, suffering has nowhere left to exist.